This is not some soulless factory. This is long, quiet days with the Father. This is obedience. This is cold, early mornings, tired, rough hands, and hot summer days. This is quality before quantity. This is where you're not just a customer, you're a client. I don't just work for you, but with you. This is where your ideas come to life. I am Joshua Watts. I love what I do and that I'm able to use my skills to serve our Father and you. I look forward to working with you. This is Joshua Watts Leather Company.
If this is true, then our country is in a lot of trouble.
We would have these trips, these special trips.
But he said, my daddy takes the bodies to the grocery store and he grinds them up and puts it in the hamburger. And nobody ever knows it.
How can kids 6, 8, 10 years old be describing rituals that come from a book like the Book of the Dead? It's hard to get your mind around people being capable of this kind of evil.
This is Dan Bidondi of TruthRadioShow.com. I am honored to offer my listeners a 1-month free subscription to NYSTV.org. Subscribers will have access to thousands of NYSE TV videos from spiritual warfare to biblical and occultic topics, banned from YouTube videos, and much more. Subscribe today on NYSTV.org and use the promo code DANTheMan and receive your first month free.
This is an historic moment. We have in this past year made great progress in ending the long era of conflict and Cold War. We have before us the opportunity to forge for ourselves and for future generations a new world order, a world where the rule of law, not the law of the jungle, governs the conduct of nations. When we are successful, and we will be, we have a real chance at this new world order, an order in which a credible United Nations can use its peacekeeping role to fulfill the promise and vision of the UN's founders.
Nothing less than a new world order. This is the pledge of the world's most powerful leaders, representing 90% of the global economy. Thursday's G20 summit, they say, has changed the rules of the game.
People dying, but nowhere near the chaos. And now is a time when things are shifting. There's going to be a new world order out there, and we've got to lead it. We've got to unite the rest of the free world in doing it.
appeared before the Congressional Committee to tell what I knew of activities which might lead to an attempt to set up a fascist dictatorship.
The potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power exists and will persist.
The very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society. And we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings.
President Bush signed a formal agreement that will end the United States as we know it. And he took the step without approval from either the U.S. Congress or the people of the United States.
The secret organizations of the world power elite are no longer secret.
It's known as the Bilderberg Group. Could their objective be world domination?
Declaring war on the New World Order. TruthRadioShow.com. And welcome everybody to Breaking the New World Order. That's right, we're busting through the New World Order, declaring war on the New World Order. I'm your host, Dan Bidondi. So we got a special show today. Usually you get all different kinds of news and, you know, break it down with biblical prophecy and everything else. But today we're going to be focused strictly on the Second Amendment. And if you don't know what that is, that's our gun rights, our God-given natural gun rights. That's endowed to us by our Creator. That's part of our Bill of Rights. We're going to give you some education about this because of mainstream media. You get these flops on TV that butcher the Second Amendment. I got it right here behind me on the wall there. And we're going to get to the education about this. But we got so much news to cover, man. And there's a massive attack on the Second Amendment right now. We are at war, literally. And it's internally. Russia doesn't pose a threat to us. None of these countries except for China. But yeah, we're going to get to what China says too. The Chinese leader, Winnie the Pooh, he says, oh, Americans shouldn't own guns. Yeah, because we want to be like his country. Yeah, where people can't even talk against the government without getting killed for it. Yeah, I don't think so. So we got a lot to talk about. And yeah, so much stuff, man. So welcome to Breaking N.W.O. And also this program is brought to you tonight by FOJCRadio.com and BevoreTsNews.com and WatchLeather.com. So please check out our sponsors there, and the links are in the description. And yeah, so this is the reality of this, okay? And I'm going to get to a little history first. So that you should know what that's from. That's from Auschwitz. That's the shoes of 6 million Jewish people that perished by a handful of Nazis because they couldn't defend themselves. And that only represents 6 million out of hundreds of millions. There was almost 750 million people in the 1900s alone, not just Jews. We're talking about Cubans. We're talking about Russians, Germans themselves, people from all over the world, South Africans, who decide, all right, we're going to give up our gun rights because our government says, we'll keep you safe. You shouldn't have guns. Only the military and police should have guns. You shouldn't have them. So give up your guns. We'll keep you safe. And this is what happens. And, you know, and if anybody thinks for 1 minute that if the Jewish folks were armed back then, right, during World War I and II era, if they were armed, the Nazis would have never stood a chance in hell to do what they did to these people. So if you think, you know, anybody that doesn't think so, you don't know what you talk about. Because the Jews are outnumbered the Nazis by far. But the only thing is the Nazis are the only ones who had guns. So to all the kids that walk out of schools and protest guns, right, these are the shoes of the Jews that gave up their firearms to Hitler. And they were led into gas chambers, murdered and buried in mass graves. Pick up a history book and you'll realize what happens when you give up freedoms and why we have to have them. And people say, well, we don't need assault weapons. Ooh. Define an assault weapon. What is an assault weapon? An AR-15? No, it's an armalite rifle. It doesn't stand for assault rifle. And they define an assault rifle as anything that is semi-automatic. Anything you can pull, the fastest you can pull the trigger. So they started off attacking the gun rights in this country, right? Go after the automatic guns, right? You know, so they took the automatics out, and now they're going after the semi-automatics. Then if they get their way, what they're going to do is they're going to go after the calibers next. Oh, you shouldn't own the 50 caliber, Dan. Then they're going to say, oh, you know, people should know, what do you need a 45 for? What do you need a 357 for? What do you need a 9mm for? Then you're down to a single shot 22. Then they're going to take that away too. Because these communists, you got to understand their mindset, right? when they set up in this country, right, they had plans to take our gun rights away, right? But they knew it would be a hell of a battle. So they had this long overhaul agenda to do this, right? So incrementally, over the years, take it till there's nothing left. And at the same time, they go, oh, no, we're not trying to take your guns. We support your Second Amendment. But you don't, automatic weapons, then semi-automatic weapons now. Then it's going to be by the caliber. Then you should own the double action. And then it's down to BB guns. So this is the reality you got to face. And, if you don't think there's going to be a Holocaust here, guys, just ask Cubans. Ask the people in Cuba. Ask the people in Venezuela. Ask the people in Germany, France. I mean, we could want all these countries that gave up their gun rights and their own governments killed them. And it was intact that the Founding Fathers vividly stated that the Second Amendment is for we the people to keep our government in check. This is going to sound a little extreme to some people, but this is a reality. This is what the Constitution, we're going to get into all this stuff too, but I just wanted to put some news out there, man, and because we're under attack. So Biden decides to push an executive order last night. They're reducing gun violence and making our community safer. And it's all about safety, right? And there was a quote, right? And I should put that quote up. So a quote Benjamin Franklin made, it's really relevant to everything, And so those who would give up your civil liberties to attain a little security, you're going to get or deserve neither. That is very relevant to everything. Because if you think, all right, we'll sacrifice some liberties, right, for safety. That was the clause for 9/11. Oh, you might have to give up some liberties. Yep, you might, but we'll keep you safe. And you hear this all the time from politicians, right? No, you don't give up, because the thing is, if you have the liberty, you don't need their security. I don't need 911. You know what I mean? And, this is, I don't need the government's help. Okay, if somebody comes and harms my family, I got Mr. Second Amendment here, my pew pew. I don't need their help. I don't need to beg and plead to the murderer that's coming into my house or something to say, oh, you better give us jewels and we're going to rape your family and everything else. I don't need to beg and plead to them and hope and pray that the police respond in time. I got Mr. Second Amendment here, okay? I can take care of myself. Those who have liberties have that security. So he sends an executive order, and this is right from the White House, right? So by the authority vested in me as a president by the Constitution of the laws of the United States of America, I hereby order as follows. Well, first of all, this here is a violation of the Constitution, so no, you're not backed by the Constitution. And I'm not going to read the whole thing, but, Section 1, every few days in the United States, we mourn, of course, they exploit the deaths of children. They exploit the deaths of innocent people, right? Domestic violence, suicide, and all these things, gun deaths, right? And here's the thing, they say, it's 40,000 people a year die from guns in the United States, right? Yeah, and most of them suicide. And the thing is, if you took guns away, the suicide rates are not going to drop. People are going to commit suicide other ways. And then I'll tell you that gun deaths are not even in the top 20 or 30 or whatever. That's ridiculous. There's not even close, okay, to the top causes of death in this country. I can't say what they are because of YouTube here. Usually we do the show on Rumble, so I wanted to give this a shot on YouTube. I'm going to try to contain myself, so yeah. All right. So anyway, and there's a policy of my administration. It's a policy, guys. My administration, that executive departments, agencies, will pursue every legal availability to appropriate action to reduce gun violence through the whole of the government approach. My administration has made historic progress to save lives. My administration has taken action to keep guns out of dangerous hands and especially dangerous weapons off the streets. Hold gun traffickers and rogue gun dealers accountable. By the way, those rogue gun dealers he's talking about, gun traffickers, that's the CIA, that's the FBI. That was on record. They called it was Operation Fast and Furious. No, not the movie. Operation Fast and Furious. Back during the Obama administration, Eric Holder as Attorney General got caught red-handed, giving weapons to the drug cartels because they try to shut down the gun shows. The so-called loopholes, whatever. You still got to go through a background check at a gun show. They don't tell you that, right? They say it's loopholes. There's no loopholes. So anyway, the ATF, they got caught red-handed selling guns that we can't have, fully automatics and everything else, to drug cartels. So the drug cartels could come use them in our country so they could turn around and blame the gun shows. This is all on record, but nothing got done about it. The criminals in the ATF. And that's what they're doing. And this act here is like they want to make stricter background checks. People say, well, there's nothing really wrong with that. No. You know, we agree a criminal should not have a gun. Absolutely. Nobody's saying that, okay? But the thing is, all these laws, they don't target the criminal. That's the thing. They don't target the assailant. They target the law-abiding citizens like me, right? I've never committed one act of crime and with this firearm. Not once. Never did anything bad with this. I respect the law that are around these things. I respect safety on it. You know what I mean? And I go through, even though I've been a gun owner for almost my whole life, I still study the safety. Every time I buy a new firearm, I study everything about it. My family knows firearm safety and everything else, and that's the way it should be. That the NRA, people badger the NRA, but you know what? The NRA, they teach strict gun control. Control the guns, not gun control. They teach strict gun safety. And they're against the gun control because gun control is tyrannical. When the government says we could control your firearms, right, what you can have, right, that's tyranny. That's not the way it's supposed to be. For hundreds of years in this country, we ruled with iron fist this country, right, because Americans had firearms. People brought guns to school, and it was never a problem. They put them in a locker or something. They taught firearm classes in schools, public schools, for hundreds of years. There was never a problem. They had loaded weapons all over the house, on the fireplace and everything. Nobody took the gun and shot somebody with it. You know, but people don't know this stuff because today's world, they got everything ass backwards. So, what they're trying to do is like this. If you could read it for yourselves, what I'll do is I'll put this link in the chat room, guys, if you want to check out his executive order without the spin of the media. That's what I like to do is go right to the source. And the link's too big for the chat room, so I can't do that. So if you go to theWhiteHouse.org, you can get this right from the White House there. So anyway, he puts this order in effect, right? To clarify the definitions of who engage in business and dealing firearms and thus become federal licensed, and I know the FFLs, and I know this sounds like alien to a lot of people. So, and what I'm trying to do is like explain it easy as possible so people can understand this. Because if you don't understand the language of this, you're gonna be like, what are you talking about? You know. So, and long story short, what they're gonna try to do, because the thing is, whole thing with this gun control stuff, right? They know it's illegal. They know what they're doing is unconstitutional. What they're doing is complete illegal. Registration is illegal. All these gun control things are illegal. You know, they know this. But they don't give up. There's a communist agenda, and they're going to keep pushing it until the public realize, brainwash the public to say, oh, they have a right to do that. No, the government has no right to touch the Second Amendment. None. People say, oh, it's an amendment. They can. No. The first 10 amendments called the Bill of Rights. We're going to get into that. You cannot touch them with a 10-foot pole. It's like the 10 Commandments, right? So it's like saying we could touch the first 10 Amendments of the Bill of Rights, right? It's like saying we could go edit God's 10 Commandments. No, you can't. The 10 Commandments were put in place for a reason that no man could touch. James Madison, the author of the Bill of Rights, he put it blunt that these are independent rights of government. Of the people over government. The government can't touch the Bill of Rights with 10-foot poles. So anyway, the Bill of Rights consists of amendments 1 through 10. We realize there's more amendments after 10. But those are not a part of the Bill of Rights. The Bill of Rights is 1 through 10. That's something that's engraved in stone that government has no power to touch. And the First Amendment starts right off. Congress can't make any law against these things. If Congress can't touch them, the president can't. Not even the Supreme Court could say, we want to get rid of the Second Amendment. No, they can't do that. No, the legislative, the executive, and the judiciary, that's the three branches of government, even if they got together, okay, they couldn't even touch the Bill of Rights with a 10-foot pole or the Constitution. That gives we the people, the power over them. So what they're trying to do here, okay, they're trying to go through back doors. So they're going to target the gun stores. And when they talk about agents, giving money to agencies and putting them, they want to boost the ATF about 35% more. So remember they hired all these agents for the ATF? So they want to hire more agents. They want to give them more authority, more control, which is unconstitutional. So basically, what they'll do, and they want to create a registry. So this is how they're going to do it, right? So if they find a gun store that violates one little thing, right, they'll shut the gun store down, right, until they get everything in order, whatever the case. While the gun store is shut down, they're going to take all the records because the government confiscates everything, right? So they're going to take all the records, all the receipts and everything, who bought what. So like Bill, right, he'll be like, "Oh, Bill, you bought 2 AR-15s. Oh, it's right there on record. So we got you your name, address, and everything of what you own." And they're going to create a massive registry. That's how they're going to do this. They're going through the back door. Complete illegal. Complete illegal. In the meantime, they'll every time when somebody starts asking questions, they'll throw the Newtown people up. They'll throw all these gun control advocates up. Oh, look at the kids. The poor kids died. Yeah, the poor kids died because of gun control. They exploit that disgusting people. These people are. They exploit the deaths of poor children to push gun control. That's going to get more kids killed. Sickening. It really is. And Israel. In 1974, they armed all their schools. All of them. They have armed security, whatever the case, right? And since then, 48 years, how many attempts of mass shootings at schools? It was only 2, and 0 kids killed. Because the armed guards stopped them, or the teachers, whoever, right? 48 years, no kids died from shootings in Israel because they armed the schools. Why don't we do that here? But no, we can't do that. We don't want kids around the guns. But it's okay to arm the politicians. It's okay to arm the federal buildings. It's okay to arm the banks because money's more important than your kids, right? But this is what is sickening. And the very people who call for gun control have armed guards, like that idiot David Hogg, right? Runs around, I'm a school shooting survivor. He looks like an alien, like a gray or something. He runs around, I'm a school shooting survivor, and he's banging at the podium. We need gun control. Number one, idiot, you weren't even at school that day, so don't say you're a gun control survivor. His classmate, Kyle Khrushchev, he's been on Fox News, whatever, but the mainstream media refuses to interview him because he defeats the entire narrative. He's actually advocating to put armed guards at the schools and all that. But David Hogg's running around, we need gun control. I'm a survivor. You are not a survivor. You weren't even at school that day, you idiot. That kid's a complete moron, like that Greta Thunberg girl. It's like they're using the youth to push gun control and climate change crap, And it's all communism. It's all communism because Hitler did the same thing. Stalin did the same thing. They attacked the youth. The education and brainwashing of the youth to get them involved. So when the youth grow up to voting age and everything else, they willingly give up their firearms. And look what happened after that. Yeah. So we're just at a point of history repeating itself. I did a show on YouTube here, and if you think gun rights and self-defense is not biblical, you got another thing coming. I did a whole show on that. It says, are gun rights and self-defense biblical? It's right on this channel here, and yes, they are completely biblical. The entire Bible from front to start is about God's people and God defending themselves, yes, spiritually and physically. Because if that was the case, right, Israel would have never been a nation. This country would have never been a nation. Tyrants would be ruling this world forever. The Father wants us to stand up against evil. Yeah, you be peaceful as possible. But you need to stand up against evil. Physically or spiritually, you need to stand up. Like when he told David, go get that sling. And I want to point out something right here, right? Hold on. Because people think, oh, it's not biblical, right? And I confronted these idiot pastors out there who preach gun control, right? David, right? Let me ask you a question, right? See this here? This is a round for 45 caliber, right? ACP, right? See that little piece of lead? So when the firearm fires, right, and it strikes this, the hammer strikes the flint there, and it pushes the billet out, and which is like about maybe this big, the lead, right? So it's a piece of lead that projects out of the firearm, right? So when it strikes the target, kills it, right? So what's the difference between that piece of lead and the rock that was in David's sling? What's the difference between those two? None. They're both minerals from the earth. That use something to project out, like a sling and a gun, okay, to project out of there, right? To strike a target to kill it. There's no difference between the two. And that's how he defeated Goliath, okay? And that's how we defeated the British and, God bless them now, but back then, defeated tyrants here in this country, right? And that's what the Second Amendment's for. You know, and yes, it is very much biblical. If you don't think so, go watch my video. I provide all the Bible verses and everything else. So that being said, that's what they're trying to do, the guys. They are trying to go legislatively to attack our Second Amendment. And you got these goofball lawyers that pop up once in a while. They'll say, oh, no, the Second Amendment's only for militias. And we're going to get into this. We're going to destroy that entire narrative. So I just want to go through some news here. But yeah, this year they're trying to go after the firearm dealers, right? The FFLs. And what they'll do is they'll shut the place down for a while, whatever the case. Minor infraction, so they'll go through all the records to see who bought what to create a registry, right? And they're trying to arm Homeland Security. Even more. Homeland Security consists of many agencies, FEMA, Viper, ICE, the whole 9 yards, all under Homeland Security. They call it Army 5. It's 5 agencies under the wing of Homeland Security. And if you all remember what FEMA did during Hurricane Katrina, yeah, they went around confiscating law-abiding citizens' firearms, which is completely illegal. And the public wanted them abolished before that because it's completely unconstitutional. So George Bush decided we got to protect FEMA. So they put FEMA under the authorization of Homeland Security. They created a thing called Army 5. All these agencies are under the wing of Homeland Security. And Homeland Security has become a tyrannical force in this country. Nothing good about Homeland Security at all. I'm not saying the people work for them are bad. No. That's TSA and all those. I'm not saying that. I'm saying the agencies themselves, they're unconstitutional, first of all, and they're evil. And he wants to arm Homeland Security, ATF, which is part of Homeland Security, to go after our guns. That's the whole operation of them doing this. Because they know darn well, okay, that what they are doing is completely illegal. For hundreds of years, that's why people say, that's not what the Second Amendment is. Yes, what the Second Amendment is. Okay, that's exactly what it is for us to defend ourselves. That's why it's been like this for hundreds of years in this country. But now they're trying to go after, through the back doors, so to speak, to attack our gun rights. We'll get more into this some other time, too, because we've got a lot of articles to cover, because what they're doing is they're going to, they're also attacking on the state level, too. So we got 26 states now in this country. That's 51% of the states in this country that have good gun laws. You know what I mean? That it's constitutional carry. You don't need a permit to carry. The Constitution is your permit. However, the 49 other states don't see it. I'm sorry, the 29 other states. The 23 other states don't see it that way. They're run by complete liberals, and some got okay laws, and some got complete tyrannical laws, like here, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, New Jersey, New York especially, California especially. So after Biden signs this, right, he got a big applause from Governor Newsom in California and all the liberal governors. Oh, great job. Our idiot Governor McKee said the same thing, which right here in Rhode Island they're trying to do is they're trying to push legislation to make it illegal for assault weapons, which is semi-automatics, which this would be fall in the line of assault weapon. You know what I mean? And they're trying to make them all illegal. Sickening. And what they'll do is how they do this, right? They'll come out with the law. They know it's illegal, right? They'll come out with that, right? No. You don't have to give up your gun. You could keep your AR-15. You could keep them. But you can't transfer them. You can't sell them. You got to keep them, all right? But, here's a caveat, right? You have to fill out a registration form. So basically, the state knows, all right, Dan Bidondi's got an AR-15. Here's his address and everything else. So they create a registry. Okay, they're doing that through the states and they do that with the federal government, right? To create registries. They go in every avenue they can to create registries of who gets go what. And they're going to come to a point, and here's the thing. If a Democratic president wins this next election, it is over. Unless people stand up violently like we're supposed to do against a tyrannical government, right? But if a Democrat was president again, like Biden again, it's either fight or give up your rights. That's exactly what's going to go on. Because they're going to create all these registries, and then guess what? If, say, Trump loses the election, right? They're going to say, oh, you know what? Oh, Trump supporters, MAGA people, they're a terrorist. So anybody that's a MAGA supporter, we got to take their guns away from them. And they're going to go to home and violently take their guns from them. Then they're going to go to constitutionalists. Then Christians. Christians are on the chopping block too. They got this all figured out, guys. Zelensky, the criminal leader over Ukraine, right? He outlawed Christianity, or not just Christianity, just churches out there. He shut down all the churches, arresting clergy and all that because they are taking religion away. Don't you see the trend going on here? And for 2 years in this country, with the pandemic, right? What do? First thing they do, shut the churches down. Then why are they attacking the First and Second Amendment? You ever get, really contemplate this? Why are they attacking the First and Second Amendment? First Amendment is freedom of religion, speech, and everything else, right? Second Amendment is the right to bear arms and defend yourself. They're attacking these two because the First and Second Amendment are the most dangerous threat to communism. They don't want Christians. They don't want fundamental Christians. They don't want gun owners. You destroy people's faith. You destroy the gun rights. You own them. That's what they're doing in this country. This is the reality you have to face right now. Christian persecution is through the roof right now. Gun owners, the persecution is going through the roof. And what they're going to do, too, is if they get addresses of guns, they're going to post everywhere to make the public aware. Oh, this one's got a gun. To try to, make it look like it's a bad thing. Everybody should have a gun. So they're going through all the states. You got a group here to counter Indiana gun violence with education. So, of course, there's nothing wrong with education. All the schools should be teaching education on firearms, right? But their education is to say, oh, guns are bad, stay away from them and everything else. That's what they're trying to do. Real education, like I said, for hundreds of years in this country, they would have firearm instructors in the schools to teach kids how to use these, how to safely have them and everything else. There was never no gun deaths like that. No kids shooting schools up. But as the NRA gears up for its annual events next month in Indianapolis, Indiana, another group is seeking out to rightfully handgun ownership and accessibly gun-related crimes increase. In advance, the NRA, together with great Hoosiers concerned about gun violence, will hold a teaching and a shift dialogue and focus on surplus of firearms that contributes to the already violent society. So the NRA, like I said, I'm a member of the NRA, all right? The NRA, they teach strict gun safety, which is awesome. Like if you ever go to a gun, like a range, right, and you want to take a course with an instructor, right? An NRA instructor, they're very strict, extremely strict. If you do something stupid with the firearm, like I see it all the time, somebody will like point the gun the other way and they'll come over, smack it right out of your hand or grab it out of your hand or something like that. They don't play games. It's strict, which it should be. The same thing with me. You know what I mean? Yeah, this is not cock. So even though I got my finger off the trigger, that's, firearm safety. There's nobody else here either. So yeah, that's firearm safety. You never put your finger on the trigger at all. Even if you know it's unloaded, never put your finger on that trigger unless you tend to pull it. That's why you see a lot of guys holding the firearm like this. And it's not even, there's nothing in the chamber. Yeah. So, strict firearm safety is very important. But some of these places, they'll claim to do that. And also, I'm not saying NRA doesn't do that, but these anti-gun places, they'll say, we want to teach strict gun safety, right? But they'll scare the kids with the guns. That's what they'll, you know what I mean? So I'm glad the NRA is actually teaching firearm safety in Indiana is allowing that to happen. So it should be like all high schools. All high schools should have the NRA or the Gun Owners Association, or Gun Owners of America Association to come into the schools and teach firearms, like they used to do for hundreds of years. That should be done, and they'll drop the violence. Here's the thing too: my son, right, 10 years old, he knows better. Okay, he's already instructed. Okay, if he ever come across a firearm in the park, he's walking down the street with his friends or whatever, he knows exactly what to do and what not to do. That's what you should teach your kids, because here's the thing. You might not own a gun, right? Which is your right. You can, whatever. Just say your kid comes across the firearm. Let me unload this here. Make sure it's unloaded. You always do a visual check in the chamber. Make sure there's nothing there. Boom. All right. So your child comes across the firearm, right? And just on the ground or something, because somebody using a gangbang shot, whatever, they threw the gun because the cops are after them, right? So just say a kid finds it in the park or something like that, right? So a child should know, okay, how to handle that. Number one, you if there's a lot of kids around, and you would tell them, hey, listen, hide the gun or something, whatever the case, and call the authorities right away. But right away, you should know, always keep pointed to the ground and unload it, like just the way I did, or, and make sure it's clear. and put it back on the ground and make sure nobody touches it. And at the same time, calling the authorities, you know what I mean? And or if there's a lot of kids around, just hold it on your person or whatever the case and turn it in. But I'm just saying, like, there's a lot of scenarios to go through. You know what I mean? A child should know this stuff because it can happen to any of our kids. Or somebody that's an adult that doesn't even know anything about guns. If you come across a firearm, it's like either you do something with it or some kid's going to pick it up. Especially if you're in a park, right? And I would say just put your foot on it and try to get somebody down there to help you, like an authority, whatever the case. But and call them and say, hey, listen, we found a gun over here. But anyway, a child should automatically know the safeties of firearms, just in case in the event they have to handle it. You know what I mean? That's the way it should be. You know, it's like, yeah, and that's the education that should be taught. And there won't be no accidents or anything like that. That's the thing. So you got Michigan Democrats saying nothing is off the table on gun reform as they use that majority to push 11 bills after experiencing 2 recent mass shootings. And I want to point this out too, right? And if you all know, with the whole Sandy Hook stuff, they dragged me into court for 2 depositions, freaking ridiculous, and it made me sick to my fucking, excuse my language on me. Sorry guys, I didn't mean to say that. Just like there's no justification for me swearing like that, and I apologize because like when this comes up, it just like my temper goes through the roof because they had me in there for 2 days, like 16 hours total out of my life in these depositions to answer question after question. Heavenly Father, please forgive me for swearing like that. But yeah, and this is why I don't want to talk about it because it gets it just irritates the heck out of me. It really does. It irritates me no end, and what I had to go through, okay, just sit there while I send across the way, right, these communist scum of lawyers and these people out there exploiting the deaths of these kids, and it makes me so freaking angry. It does to no end. The kids. So if you cared about the kids, why are you taking people's gun rights? If you cared about the kids, how come you're not advocating to arm those schools? And again, I apologize about the mouth, guys. And just like, you had no idea what I went through. All right. Then the criticism I got from people all over the country, different people, liberals and all that. You're an animal, you're a terrorist, or whatever the case. Sitting there badgering me because I stand up for gun rights. Because I worked for Alex Jones at the time, InfoWars, and I was covering the whole Sandy Hook stuff. And God forbid you ask questions. That's the thing. So they exploit the deaths of children, and this is what they're doing here, right? And they use mass shootings. This is why we got to push these gun bills, right? And these Michigan Democrats are pushing the stricter gun laws following 2 mass shootings of the Associated Press, right? And the party's calling for universal background checks and safe storage laws among measures. Now, safe storage laws, I want to point that out real quick, right? What is the safe storage law? Yes, all guns should be stored, okay? If I'm not around my firearm, that thing's in a safe. It's safe, in the safe, So safe storage laws, what they want to do is, no, not just that, right? So they want you to lock up the gun, take the ammo out, put it in a separate container in a separate part of the safe, lock the gun up, then lock it in the safe. So basically, if somebody breaks in the house, be like, hold on. I got to go in my safe first, right? Oh, hold on, I got to go into the other side of the safe and get the ammo out. Hold on, I got to unlock my gun. So it renders the firearm useless. So there's no point even having one for self-defense and home. They make it, on the whole, they make the laws sound good. But if you read the language of it, it's nothing good about it. And it comes after shootings of Michigan State University and Oxford High School. It's kind of funny, okay, and you call me conspiracy theorist. I've been around this stuff for years, man. And I've been literally on the inside of these things and, legislatively, right? And every time they go to push legislation, notice how there's always a school shooting or a mass shooting. It's not a coincidence. William Cooper, you can call me a nut all you want, okay, and I believe this 100%. William Cooper, right, in his book, Behold the White Horse, he said that the CIA, they're going to stage mass shootings in schools too. They're going to shoot up schools or allow these things to happen to push gun control. And it's not a coincidence that these things happen and all of a sudden there's bills already ready to go. And if you think and I'm not talking about these people holding the signs. I'm not talking about the low politicians. I'm talking about the people at the top. If you think they care about kids' lives, they don't. They would rather see kids get killed just to push gun control. These people are animals. The same kind of people killed hundreds of millions of people in the 1900s. So if you think they care about your kid in your school, yeah, you got another thing coming. All they care about is pushing a communist agenda. And they'll exploit kids to do that. These sick, demonic people. Red Lemur, oh my God, my virgin is. Yeah, again, sorry guys for the F-bomb. It just, Dan's gone and done it now. Yeah, sorry for the F-bomb, man. It just irritates me, because what I went through and for years with this Sandy Hook stuff. And it's sickening. And, God bless those kids, like I said. And I told them right out in the deposition, it's like, yeah, you people are disgusting. Not only you're suing a firearms manufacturer, Remington, right? Which had nothing to do, like the AR-15 was never even used in a school shooting. But they went after Bushmaster. Then, they're exploiting kids, these poor kids, to push gun control. That's going to get more kids killed. And then, look, they capitalize all the time. It was Robert Emanuel. He said, never let a good crisis go to waste. They use crisis to push the communist agenda. What time is it? 9:34. So, gun bills coming to Michigan after second school mass shooting. So I'm with 2 handguns and dozens of rounds of ammunition. 43-year-old Anthony McRae opened fire on the Michigan State University campus on the night of February 13th, killing 3 students and wounding 5 more. And these mass shootings has pushed Michigan Democrats, who had already planned to prioritize changes. Yeah, see? Already planned. They already planned to try to push changes to gun laws, right? They have already planned it, right? Then the mass shootings happen, and they jump on all over it. Then what they'll do is they do this here in Rhode. These are sick people. Makes me so angry. Sick SOBs, okay? What they'll do is they'll drag kids from the school. That would happen. Like here in Rhode, they'll bring kids from Sandy Hook, kids. Utterly disgusting. Sit there, they brainwash these poor kids, right? And they're crying on the podium, crying, oh, want to stay safe and all that. And, God bless those kids. But then they're led by these teachers and parents. And the politicians especially, they're led by them to show raw emotion to attack your gun rights. And these poor kids, I don't blame them. I just pray for them. They're just brainwashed. That's all they are. And these sick individuals that exploit their debts, and I told them at the Sandy Hook trial too, people are sick. Oh man, we gotta shut up then, because and I'm supposed to be a man of God, right? But I tell you, if you ever watch that deposition, and you gotta hear probably a lot of cuss words, like yeah, because when it comes to this stuff, it really targets me, because I know what's gonna come out of this. All those people died in the 1900s. Just the 1900s alone, that's going to be us. We're going to have Holocaust and everything else if we give up our guns. And these sick, demonic people exploit these poor kids to do this stuff. Look, right away, they already had planned to push gun control, right? But they capitalized. They jumped all over that mass shooting. They're doing this in Michigan, I'm sorry. And Time Magazine says Washington State assault weapons ban would ban all AR-15s and AK-47 style rifles. So those darn pop-ups. It's sickening, right? So the Washington State House has approved a sweeping assault weapons ban on Wednesday that would prohibit the sale, manufacture of AR-15 and AK-47 rifles and many other popular semi-automatic weapons. If passed, it would impose some of the strictest restrictions of the assault weapons ban in the country. So in all these states, what they do is they compete to see who has the best gun control, right? So Rhode Island's trying to do the same thing right now. So at any moment, we could get a phone call, because when they push the bills through, they already got them ready to go here in Rhode Island. So they have to, by law, give us a 48-hour notice to say, hey, we're going to hear these bills on the floor. And what we have to do is we have to assemble at the State House. We have to testify before the Senate and the House against these bills, because they push the bills on both the Senate and the House. And so we're going to be in a fight for our lives this year. And then you got to wait for if they push these things, like here, right? If Washington ends up pushing this and approves in this assault weapons ban, the Supreme Court's going to shoot it down. But the point is that between now and then, like here in Rhode Island, right? If it passes here in Rhode Island, we got to wait for the Supreme Court to weigh in on this. The Supreme Court's been doing one heck of a job shooting these things down. Tell them you can't have high-capacity magazine restrictions. You can't have semi-automatic weapon bans. It's unconstitutional. But they'll push it anyway. And the thing is, here's what they're doing. This is what they know it's going to get shot down. So why are they doing this? Why would they spend all this time and money to do this for? They know these bills are going to get shot down eventually. They'll pass in some states, yeah. But they know they're going to get shot down. So why are they spending all this time and money on that for? Because here's why. Because during the time, just say right now, the assault weapons banned completely, right? But they're saying in the bill as we could keep them as long as we register them, right? So now we all got them registered to keep in the compliance on constitutional law, right? So we all got them registered. And they know the Supreme Court's going to end up coming in and shutting it down. So the Supreme Court comes in, shuts it down. All right, we got rights back. But in the meantime, they got a list of all of us. They got a list of all of us and everything we own. So now, one day, okay, the thing is, they know all these bills are going to fail eventually, all right? But in the meantime, they're building up, and this is what this Biden's executive order is, right? They're going to build up, right? And all these lists. So one day, what's going to happen is, we're going to get a real bad president that's not going to care, okay, or an overwhelming Congress and Senate. They're going to come in and say, you know what, we're going to take everybody's guns. And they're going to know where you are, what you have, and everything else. And meanwhile, they're going to build their forces up. And that was the big bad thing that Trump did. Then he said, we're going to expand our military, make it more powerful. That's bad in a lot of ways. Because now, with Biden filling the military with woke people, they're going to use the military against us. And we know a lot of the military today, right now, they, hopefully they would stand down from the orders. But it's going to come to a battle, guys. I'm telling you right now. And when that battle comes, I know, just a couple people or a little militia group ain't going to handle the entire military, you know what I mean? But when it comes to that battle, man, the people need to stand united. And there wouldn't even be a fight. Even with our own military, we still could overpower them. We got about 100 million gun owners in this country. And a lot of these guys are former military employees still. So keep that in mind. People need to make their gun rights firm and support. In other words, the state level and the government level needs the people as a whole, not individual and all that, people as a whole to get together to say, listen, you come to our door to take our guns. I don't care who you are. We're going to defend ourselves. That will put the fear of God in them because they have no authority to do that. We have the authority to do that. And here's the thing, a squad of people come to my house to get my guns. All right, you give up your guns. But you're just buying time. That's all you're doing. You just stop forging the chains of slavery. And Washington and them said, it's like, they'd rather die on their feet than live on their knees. You know what I mean? And the same thing you should apply to you. You know what I mean? Would you rather die on your feet or live on your knees for the rest of your life? Then the wave of tyranny that's going to come to this country. Why do you think China doesn't invade us right now? They got the armies to do it. But they know it'll be suicide because, guns are everywhere in this country. That's why China wants America to dissolve the Second Amendment. Because these forces will come right through our country and rip this country apart. Terrorist organizations, that's why there's no Al-Qaeda things are going on over here either, because they know better. They're in this country, absolutely, but they know better as a whole. People in this country will fire back. That's why Antifa and all them never wanted to go into the suburbs and all that, because people in the suburbs have no problem shooting back. See, tyrants don't like people that can defend themselves. It's like a bully. They don't like to pick on somebody that could fight back. They'll pick on the weak little people. So you got Washington. They're trying to push this assault weapons ban, which is semi-automatic weapons. It's not assault weapons. There's no such thing as assault weapon. Like the assault weapon, right? It's like saying this firearm could get up off the table by itself and go assault people. No, it takes me to do that. And I don't even need that. I can assault people with this. So they're going to ban fists too. And then people into martial arts, they'll ban that stuff too. Look what they did in Japan for years. The emperor, for a while, they banned martial arts. They banned any form of self-defense. That's where the katas come in. When people doing katas, and it looks like they're dancing. You know what I mean? That's how they kept practicing martial arts. But that's where it starts. They went after the weapons at the time of swords and all that. Then they banned self-defense altogether. And that's where they're going to go. They're going to go, again, they're going to take the semi-automatics away. Then they're going to go after the calibers. You can own a 50 down to a 45, 357, 9mm, 22. Then even BB guns would be outlawed. Oh, I got my bow and arrow. Yep, that got to be outlawed too. They're going to keep taking and taking and taking and taking and taking and taking until you got nothing. And meanwhile, the military, oh yeah, they're going to, you notice how these gun laws, right? None of these gun laws, none of them, apply to military or police. Like here in Rhode Island with the magazine, the high capacity magazine ban, right? And we're waiting for the Supreme Court to overrule this. But right now, you can't have over 10 rounds in your magazine, right? So, but it doesn't apply to military and police. There's a problem with that. Now, I respect the military, I respect the police. Okay, I'm not anti-government, I'm anti-bad government, right? But here's the problem with that, right? The Founding Fathers stated that the people should be just as armed, if not more armed, than the military. Why is that? Because it prevents a tyrannical takeover. You need to keep it equalized as you keep freedom. The people need to have the ability and the tools to fight back. So you got city council examines assault weapons ban and more. And so and now not just the federal and the state, but the cities now. Here in Rhode Island, in Newport, Rhode Island, you got city councils. They are actually trying to push legislation. Right now, it would support the governor's assault weapons ban bill going through in the General Assembly if it's approved. But the cities are going to start, try to enforce it themselves, which they can't do that. Like if you live in your city, the city itself says, well, we don't want semi-automatics here. Well, too bad. You don't get to make that decision. But this is where they start. They go and say, oh, we're going to support the governor's bill. And a bill, which and the governor say we'll support the president's bill. Look at this idiot, right? Jean Marie Napolitano, the council. I'm tired of kids being killed. Well, yeah, we're all tired of kids being killed, but those kids are being killed because of you idiots disarming the schools. So anybody that supports gun control and pushes it, you're part of the problem. You're a terrorist. And they're trying to push here in Rhode Island, like I said, assault weapons ban. And Massachusetts, California, Connecticut, Delaware, Hawaii, Illinois, Maryland, New Jersey, New York, and the District of Columbia has assault weapons bans. They're trying to push it through. So they're trying to do that here in Rhode Island. And again, they go after the kids right there. The first thing that comes out, although the emotions and everything else, people crying, and the kids. It's about safety and the kids. And they exploit these kids to adopt common sense gun laws. There's no such thing as common sense gun laws. Common sense says leave the Constitution the hell alone. That's what it says. We didn't have these shooting problems when this country was anybody could carry a gun anywhere. Even the criminals, they knew better to go try to jack somebody up, everybody carried a gun in this country. That's why we had the lowest prison rates in the country, in the world. And we had one of the best countries with the lowest crime rates in this world when everybody carried a gun. Because people had the fear of God, even the politicians. They knew if they crossed the people, something would happen to them. Now today, because of gun control, all hell is broken loose. Because only criminals have guns and only the government has guns, mostly, in these states. So you got Texas lawmakers weigh on bipartisan bill to close the background check loophole. So Texas lawmakers are on the path of passing a bipartisanship legislation aimed at cut off loophole in 2009 laws that meant to prevent people with a history of mental health issues obtaining firearms. So that's the thing here's the thing, there's nothing wrong with that there, right? In a sort of way, because what they'll do, here, I'm trying to explain this the best way. So instead of attacking the gun rights, right, they're not addressing the real problem. The real problem is mental health. Because if you notice, all these mass shooters, right, they have a history of mental health. And most of the time, the government already knew about them. Or the local police department. But they did nothing about it. They allowed it to happen so they could push a gun control agenda. But yeah, mental health issues, right? So now they want to jump on it. All right, well, which is kind of good, right? Yeah, a nutbag shouldn't have a gun. But here's the thing. It doesn't stop there. They're going to use that to their advantage. So they're going to say, all right, oh, you're a Trump supporter. Oh, all right. I think you got to go see mental evaluation. Of course, you get a liberal doctor that's going to be like, yeah, this guy's not. He preaches the Constitution. He stands against the New World Order. Oh man, this guy's a nutbag, man. He's a Bible believing Christian. Yeah, he's not mentally fit to have a gun. Signs it off, and all of a sudden you can't have guns. So there's a fine line with that. So they're going to every avenue. This is how the communists work. I've studied these communist people years ago. I told people here on Rhode Island exactly how they're going to take the gun rights. And I'm glad now some people finally acknowledge that. They're like, oh, remember you're all calling Dan a wacko? Yeah, he was right. Exactly what they're trying to do here. And check this out. Trump supporters are barred from owning guns after bringing firearms to the 2020 Philly vote count. And they didn't do nothing. It's your right to bring a gun. Like in Virginia when they had the gun rallies there, you can bring guns. It's your right. It's a people's house. But 2 men convicted last year of carrying firearms in the area of Philadelphia Convention Center during the 2020's vote count were granted immediate parole, and the Philadelphia Inquirer reports. So there's these 2 people here, Joshua and Antonio, both of Virginia, were convicted last fall of weapons charges, the report said. So they're going to use this, okay? They're going to use things like this to bar Trump supporters. And it doesn't stop at Trump. Here's the thing, too. If you're not a liberal, okay, you're not one of these Biden lovers, whatever, you don't even have to support Trump. Just the point that you're against him, you're automatically labeled in that far right extremist, right? I went to these Trump rallies, right? And I'm not, I voted for Trump. I'm not a Trumper, but I voted for him. And I'm not, I don't wear his shirts or nothing like that. I'm not a MAGA. But I could be considered one of these people too, because you don't agree with the far left. Sickening. So, yeah, and I can't talk too much about this because YouTube's, that's why I should have done this on Rumble. The problem with Rumble is I'm trying to still work something out with that because when we stream on there, it's so hard sometimes. It cuts off and everything else. And so Rumble still needs a long ways to go. So that's why we're doing this on YouTube this week. So we're going to figure something out. But that's what they're doing, guys. They're going after Trump supporters. And permitless concealed carry gun bill advances in Nebraska. So Nebraska is attempting to become the 27th state to go permitless, which this is good news, okay? So on the side of there's always bad news, the other side is there's good news coming too, because the whole country is divided. It really is. And actually it's a little more now on the good side because a lot of states are stepping up, saying, you shouldn't have to have a permit. And when they, have permitless carries, the crime rates go down. When people can carry guns and oh man, I'm just like, this is just like so insane. When they forget to, the whole law of the land, that's what I try to say, when they forget the whole law of the land, these people, that all hell breaks loose, right? So these states that don't forget the law of the land, which is the Constitution, they pass bills for permitless carry, which is constitutional carry. In other words, you don't need a permit to carry a gun. That's the way it should be. Crazy, man, and I hope that they do that, and that they'll become the 27th state, I believe. So anyway, after years of trying to pass a bill to allow people to carry concealed guns in Nebraska without a permit, conservative lawmakers are on cusp of doing so, thanks to the part of deflection of the 2 Democrat Ohio senators. So some of the Democrats are siding with us, which is good. And here's the thing, too, I want to emphasize. I'm not saying all Democrats are bad people. We got Democrats in Rhode Island that support our gun rights. And they go all out for us, though. So don't say we need to vote all red or all. No, that's not. You got to vote by the person. There are plenty of good Democrats out there who support gun rights. Just want to put that out. They're called conservative Democrats or whatever they. But yeah, and it shouldn't even be right or left. It's like whoever supports the Constitution you should vote. So let's hope Nebraska does that. And USA Today says it's just common sense. Biden signs new executive action expanding gun background checks, which we just covered. So, of course, USA Today is going to say, they got to highlight, it's just common sense. Oh, it's common sense for a communist, absolutely.
First, I'm announcing another executive order. They'll accelerate and intensify this work to save more lives more quickly. First, this executive order helps keep firearms out of dangerous hands, as I continue to call on Congress to require background checks for all firearm sales. And in the meantime, my executive order directs my Attorney General to take every lawful action possible to move us as close as we can to universal background checks without new legislation. It's just common sense.
Without legislation?
To check whether someone is a felon, a domestic abuser, before they buy a gun.
Yeah, like you. Yeah, without legislation, that's dictatorship, isn't it? Yeah, without legislation. Yeah, let's do this without legislation. You can't do that. We have a constitution and balance of powers for a reason in this country. So these credit card companies, right now, the woke mafia, right? The Moms Demand Action, the Newtown people, all these anti-gun groups, right? They started using the woke mafia power to go after credit card companies, right? So they wanted credit card companies to report anybody who bought firearms or spent any money at gun stores, right? So credit card companies dropped plans to track gun store purchases after pressure from lawmakers. So including MasterCard and Visa announced that they are hitting the brakes on plans to add new purchase code that would help track firearm sales. So the government's trying to go through the back door, again, with the credit cards. So basically, you go buy a gun at a store, right? Now, granted, it won't, on the statement, it doesn't say exactly what it is. It'll say like mid-state guns, right? And whatever the money is. So they know you bought something there. So they're trying to track you every which way, financially too. So 6 months ago, a payment giant said they would implement a merchant category code, MCC, specifically to gun and ammunition stores, so that certain suspicious transactions might be flagged and reported to authorities. Even though, here's the thing, to buy a gun at a gun store, right, you need to be a law-abiding citizen. So why are you reporting this stuff to authorities? So this is what they try to do. And so anyway, long story short, the lawmakers stopped up saying, no, you can't do this. It put a lot of pressure on the credit card companies, and now they dropped the plans to do this. And MasterCard said that if some of the bills being advanced in state legislature get passed, there would be inconsistency, which is why the company says it has put the plans on pause. And Discover confirmed that the company will not implement the code in April as planned. And the company says it made a decision to continue alignment and interoperability with the industry. And American Express says they paused the implementation of the code according to multiple media reports. So all these credit card companies, the big ones there, MasterCard, also said some of these bills being, well, I should have just read that, yeah. So MasterCard, Discover, Visa, and all that, and American Express, they said, no, we're not going to do this. Because they know they're going to be in a world of legal problems if they do. So again, these MasterCard companies pause work on new firearms merchant code. So basically, they would report to the government or some agency like, oh, there's this one bought a firearm, which is nothing wrong with it. It's completely legal to buy a firearm. Nothing wrong with it. But they're going to report you, and to put, which is part of that data list they're trying to build up. And there's some states where gun sales are increasing the most. So just a couple, where is it? Here, without the ads. New Mexico, where's all that list there? I don't know, this article's all jacked up. So anyway, it was a list of states where the gun sales are increasing the most. Some of these articles are just ridiculous with all these ads. So and it says in the 1980s, Georgetown required everyone to own a gun, and what happened after this? So it was in 1982 when authorities established a new law requiring all residents to own firearms. And what Georgia town has been thinking outside the box when it comes to America's approach to gun crime. So basically the article goes to show that, if I get to it here, when this law was in effect, right, the crime rates dropped significantly. And the freedom that average citizens to keep and bear arms has come under fire from many people, such as gun control debate communities. So, yeah. So what happened was they ended up rescinding this law, and the crime rates went through the roof. It's hard to read this with all this garbage in the article here. So here's a good thing, too. Some good news more. It's a 1.3 million guns sold last month. Firearm sales are near record high levels. So on the counter side of this whole thing, right, and all the states and the government trying to push gun control, right? Right now, the sales of AR-15s and AK-47s are through the roof. Because in some states and the government says we're going to try to ban them. So the more they call to ban them, guess what people done? You don't tell the American people what to do. Remember alcohol prohibition? What happened? It made alcohol more popular, right? So don't let the news discourage you to make you feel like you're overwhelmed. No, you're not. Because much as they're calling for gun control and they're trying to pass gun control, people are buying it through the roof. Last year was a record sale, all-time history. More Americans bought guns last year than they ever do through history, right? They set a record like the 2-3 years before, during the pandemic too. And last year, every year, it's getting more and more. People are buying more and more guns. The more they call for gun control, the more they're pushing this stuff, people are buying guns. Just last month, 1.3 million guns sold. That's awesome. And U.S. gun sales passed 1 million mark for the 43rd month in a row. So for 43 months, and this has never happened in history, 43 months, at least 1 million guns are sold in the United States of America. So it's 2020. And according to National Shooting Sports Foundation, the Firearm Industry Trade Association, sales firearms surpassed 1.3 million units in February. So that's awesome. So what this does is it spells trouble for tyranny. That's what it does. And that's why I encourage people to go out and buy firearms. It doesn't matter what your governor or mayor or the idiot, retarded president says. Go buy more guns. Buy more ammunition. Because the more we have, the better we are. You know, I mean, that's the formula of freedom. When the civilian population has more guns than the government, that's the formula of freedom. And that's what they're afraid of. So you got Communist China says American owning guns is a serious problem that must change. Oh, coming from a guy who organ harvests his own people, right? And you speak out against your government in China, yeah, they'll kill you. Then they had that one-child policy for a while. If you got to have more than one kid, they would execute you and a kid probably or whatever. Sickening stuff, right? So, yeah, you got Winnie the Pooh here, Zhang Ping there, saying, oh, America has a problem with guns. It's a serious problem that must change. Oh, why is it going to change? So we could be locked up and shackled like your people? And I hope and pray one day, I do. Those Chinese people are such good people. I hope and pray that one day that, if I was just say George Soros type billionaire, trillionaire, right? I would arm every Chinese citizen. Arm them all. Say, you know what? Go take your country back. Get rid of this communist government. Overthrow them. I would do that in Ukraine. I would do that in every country in the world to give the people the firearms. I would give everybody in this world a firearm. Just overthrow every of these governments. To kick them all out and start new. All constitutional republics. So, yeah, you got a problem, Mr. Peng. And the thing is, yeah, he wants us to disarm, right? This way, if he wants to come invade this country, nobody's going to stop him. And, yeah, sure, he's got a 2 million man army, no doubt. But guess what? We have a 100 million army. Yeah, 100 million people in this country own guns. That poses a big threat to any communist dictator. So these are the terrorist groups, guys. And, yeah, these are the gun control groups. Every town, the Giffords, remember Gabby Giffords there, the congresswoman, whatever, got shot? Yeah. United Against Gun Violence advocacy groups, the Moms Demand Action, the Sandy Hook Promise, which is Newtown, and then there's one for every town for gun control and all that stuff. All these gun control groups, guys, are communists. Let me see if I got that on my Twitter. So Newtown Alliance, these people are terrorists. All they do is exploit poor kids to push for gun control. And I hope they hear that. I really do. Try taking me to court and sue me. You go straight to hell. How's that sound? I don't got nothing to sue for. Look at this. Like, oh, this is a CNN garbage, right? Every town, that's another one. These are gun control groups. Exploiting dead kids to push their communist agenda. Sickening people. There's that idiot Governor McKee. He's trying to push semi-automatic weapons ban. Makes me sick, man. It really does. So, also, guys, again, if you want to check out the gun rights and self-defense and biblical, I got it on my page here. This is what the Bible... Let me share the link here and put it in the chat room. Yeah, who's this? Dawson says this country is doomed. Well, yeah, you know what? It will be doomed if we don't do nothing about it. That's the thing. If we don't stand up and do something about it, it's going to be doomed. And the thing is, we're God's people. We should be standing up against these people. We should not be fearing these people. We should be standing up against these people. And, it's sickening that we have to do that. But unfortunately, we have to, and that we need to stand up against these tyrants. Because if we don't, well, people can play politically correct all they want, because at the end of the day, they're the ones who are going to win. They're the ones who are going to win the battle here. So let's get into some little education here, what the Second Amendment is. So now, anytime the media talks about the Second Amendment, you never see them pop this up on the screen. So they can dictate how they want to feel, right? Let me see any other comments here. Country loves sin. Yeah, that's the other thing too. Our country loves sin. That's the other thing too. If this country turned back to God, all this tyranny would go away. But they know that what they're doing is like, and anybody, the rest of us who are of God, right? They're attacking our First Amendment. They try to shut the churches down completely, put pressure on the churches. If you're not 501c3, we're shutting you down, and they're going after the churches. They've already infiltrated most of them anyway. So these churches out there, like, really are not of God either. They're trying to destroy the foundation of God in this country. And the sign back over here, right, says, God, guns, and guts, okay? Made America free. And it's true. People who love God, had guns and guts, made this country free. And we need those people back again. We need people, God-fearing people who love God, okay, and who have guns and who have guts. People, and God says about cowards, too. If you read the scriptures, he says cowards have no place in the kingdom of God. You're not supposed to fear nothing and nobody. If you're a follower of Jesus Christ, those people, you know what they battled? You understand what these people battled, the Jews, the Israelites, I should say, during those years when they were a nation? Do you understand what these people were battling? They weren't just battling regular people. They were battling freaking Nephilims. I'm talking about Goliath-sized people, kings and everything else. These things were monsters. 30 feet tall, if not big, and this is real. This is really reality that happened. They were battling Nephilim monsters. They had to take up arms against them, and God gave them the power to defeat them. So if our people could handle those kind of people, why can't we handle these cockroaches who go out there? These people are so weak and decadent. I've seen these people. I've confronted presidents. I've confronted congressmen, governors, senators. And when you stand in front of these people, right, like face to face, you look at them and you want to laugh in their face. These people are so weak and pathetic. But on TV, they look all mighty and powerful and all that. They are pathetic cockroaches. Why are we taking crap from them? That's my question, right? So, some little education here. Second Amendment says, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of the free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. So they'll say, well, it's only for militia units. It's only for militia units? Really? Who's the militia? National Guard? No, not. James Madison said, no, the militia is the people. And there's two parts of the Second Amendment, too. All right, so it says the people's right to keep and bear arms. Because they'll say, oh, this only means militias to have firearms, right? What does it say? That it doesn't say that at all. But either way, the militia is the people. We're going to get to that in a minute. So, prefatory clause, right? A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. That's two parts of this amendment, right? So, it's you, the people, have a right to form a militia group. Well-regulated means well-organized, by the way. That's the language back then. Well-regulated meant well-organized. It's not just a bunch of people running around like crazy, right? It's well-organized, and it's not controlled by city, state, or government either. It's a people's militia unit. Be well-organized. And the operative clause is the right of the people, that's me, you, and everybody, we the people, right? The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. So further definition, explanation of this, right? So let's break it down. What is a well-regulated militia? This is from James Madison, the author of the Bill of Rights. He defined a well-regulated militia as when properly formed are in fact the people themselves, whose ability to act in both personal and common defense must be well maintained. And being necessary to the security of a free state, right? To be secured in liberty, the state of being free, and the governance of free people, the state is securing the rights of the free people. And the right of the people, right? The whole of the people. An individual right independent of government. That's what is vividly expressed. Independent of government. To keep and bear arms, to own and carry arms. Check this out. Now people say, well, it only refers to muskets. No. Because James Madison says to keep and bear arms, he defined that to own and carry arms of whatever type necessary. Whatever type. So if the enemy's got an AR-15, you need an AR-15. If the enemy's got an AK-47, you need one. Again, to own and carry arms of whatever type necessary to effectively provide for personal defense and defense against tyranny. Shall not be infringed. That's bold and plain. Shall not be limited, regulated, or federally excessively taxed or encroached upon in any manner. So basically saying the government has no authority to even touch the Second Amendment at all. They can't tax you on it. They can't do it. It's a God-given right. They can't do any of that, but they're doing it. And you know why they're doing it? Because people are allowing it to happen. 150 years ago, this stuff would never fly in this country. These politicians are running around like in God mode right now. They are. They're running around in God mode. They're untouchable because the people don't do nothing about it. When I speak out at the State House, there's not many of us that do that. But when I do, half the people look at you like, wow, you're crazy, dude. No, I'm not crazy. You should be doing the same thing, screaming down their throats in person. Because 150 years ago, any of these communist governments out there, right? The governors and all that, and the president, yeah, they be behind bars right now. Because the people would have took up arms and overthrew them. That's the way this country always was. And James Madison said the same thing in the Federalist Papers, 46. But ambitious encroachments of the federal government of the authority of the state governments would not excite the opposition of a single state or a law, few states only, would be signals of general alarm, and every government would oppose a common cause. The correspondences would be open, and planned resistance would concentrate on one spirit, would eliminate the conduct of the whole, and the same combination would result from an apprehension of the federal as produced by the dread of the foreign, yoked unless projected invocations should be voluntarily renounced, and the same appeal of the trial of force would be made in one case and was made in another. But what degree in madness could ever drive the federal government to such extremity? So that's his take on the Second Amendment, which was the Second Amendment back then. The Federalists paved the way for the Bill of Rights. So the Federalist Papers, man, that's why they don't teach them in school. Because the Federalist Papers, man, there was just like a bunch of the founders got together, wrote these papers about defining rights and everything else, and keeping government limited. And if they become tyrannical, it's your right, and right here, right? Declaration of Independence. So if anybody thinks I'm extreme right now, Declaration of Independence says, it's paragraph 2, right? We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal. They are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That to secure these rights, they're saying to secure these rights, right? Governments are instituted among men, deriving just powers from the consent of the governed. So it's saying, yeah, we're to have a government, right? But whatever they do has to be consented by us. The power is with the people, right? Now it goes on to say that whenever any form of government, right, becomes destructive to these ends, now when you say when the government becomes tyrannical, right, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it and institute new government laying on its foundation on the principles of organization and its powers. So what it's saying is like when the government becomes tyrannical, it is the right and duty of the people, the American people, to stand up against that government, take up arms if you have to, overthrow them, and provide a new government. Set a whole new government up again. Throw the tyrants out, literally by force, and establish a new government. Vote new people in. Now, that's why our country for longest time was a very good country. Because the politicians had the fear of God. You know what they would do to people? A governor, a mayor, whoever, or a congressman that did something tyrannical? They would literally tar in front of these people. They would, by force, if the authorities didn't step up to do something, they would, by force, get the militia units, storm into that building, arrest that person, and hold a public trial for that person. And they put the fear of God into politicians, that they would not want to cross the people or violate the Constitution. Now, today, they do it. Now, they're on TV, openly stating what they're going to do. Look at Biden. Oh, yeah, we're going after your guns. If he would have said that 150 years ago, he'd be in jail right now. And anybody else that got in the way to stop them, they'd be in jail too. That was the power of the people in this country. Now, today, people hate to say it, and you look at half the men in this country. I don't even want to call them men. Bunch of pusses. Weak, pathetic, decadent cowards. That's what they are. All feminized, all soy boys running around. Ooh, I need my girlfriend to change the tire on my car because I don't want to break my nail. Man, I want to. Well, yeah, that's a famous photo where it was a protest there. And these police officers were tyrannical, man. They were beating in some people with signs and everything. And this one guy just stood up against them. And that's you know what I mean? That's we need to do against tyranny. You know, this is a real powerful picture right there. Yeah, I tell you, man, it's like people need to grow some kahunas. So I want to thank everybody for joining us on the show. Soy boys, 100%. Yeah, look around. How many men are out there? They're telling you all don't be masculine. You got these feminized men. You see me even at the gym. It's sick. Makes me sick, right? I'm at the gym like just grudging it out. You know, you got wearing torn up clothes. It's not a fashion show to me, right? These guys come in. They got this perfectly white shirt, the chains, the jewelry, and all that. They're like, then they work out and they're like, you know, like they're so dainty, and they got like little 5-pound weights on the bottom, like lifting weights. I'm like, you know, you get your feel there's no masculinity in them. You know, and then you got some guys that's just like, you know what I mean, showing that that's what a guy's supposed to be. You know, show that masculinity, that alpha male type stuff. That's what a guy's supposed to be. How are you supposed to protect your family, man? I can't. They'll hide behind a woman. You know, that's how they are too. I seen it, man. Like the guys out there changing tires and all that, and like the girls are doing it for them. You know what I mean? They get to fights and the girl backs stuff. Yeah, men are just in this country. And the thing is, if even we're uprise against the government, that becomes tyrannical. Like, how many of us, I mean, I think there's still plenty of us left right now that could defend ourselves. But as time goes on, man, there's people just getting weak and decadent. And on top of it, you know, how many people turning from God? Oh, yeah, they say it was revivals going around, but how many of these people that believe in the true biblical Jesus Christ? Not many. Yeah, that's where we got to emphasize, man, because we need people to come to God. And when you come to God, you don't sit in your pews all day. You know what I mean? You got to get out there in the face of evil. You got to be able to, at any given day, to stand up against tyranny, defend yourself, your family, and all that. That's what God wants. He wants strong people, not people who are just like, I want to hide in my corner. You know, None of God's people were like that. They were mighty men. You looked all through the Bible. So guys, thank you for joining us. And I got a link in the chat room, a donation page if you want to help support this ministry operation. That's in the chat room. And if you got a PayPal, Venmo, or Cash App, that works too. We got 4 different ways to do that. And this one in the chat room, you don't even have to have an account. You just go on there, whatever you want to donate, and you can use whatever card. And thank you guys for supporting this operation. Very much appreciated. And I apologize about the swearing, man. I didn't mean to drop the F-bomb like that. And that just shows you I'm a regular person just like everybody else. You know what I mean? And I'm not making excuses for it, but nobody's special. You know what I mean? I sin like everybody else, and I repent, hopefully like everybody else too. But, it's, yeah. Yeah. And so, guys, check out nystv.org. And if you want a free subscription, 30 days free on me, Dan the Man is a promo code. The instructions are in the description. So Dan the Man is a promo code. So check that out. And Friday night, we got a spiritual warfare show coming up, me and Brian Reese. So it's going to be fun. And we're going to do, guys, is I think it's, what the heck, what are we talking about? Hang on a second, let me get the title of the show, because me and Brian were trying to get a title going on. Oh, Pentagon Disclosure. Basically, we got more stuff on UFOs and all that, the Pentagon. And the Pentagon is actually reporting a mothership. I don't know how real this is, whatever the case, but I guess they're reporting a mothership in our solar system or something like that. In other words, in the firmament, right? So we're going to disclose that. We're going to talk about that and more alien stuff, and which, we know the unclean spirits, as the Bible says. So we're going to talk a lot about that. Then right after the presentation, we're going to use spiritual warfare. We're going to use real spiritual warfare, guys, and because, here's the thing. We're supposed to be running spiritual warfare shows. Let's use the spiritual warfare. You know how powerful that is? We've been praying for people, and all of us, and it's been working. It's amazing. Everybody we pray for, it helps them out and all that. So we got a list right here. We got 4 people we're going to be praying for. And guys, if you know anybody that's going through any bad times right now that really seriously needs prayer, please email me, truthradioshow at outlook.com. Let me put it in here. Truth Radio Show at Outlook. So just email me in the title, the subject put prayer request, and we'll try to get the name on there. And what we'll do is we'll open the phone lines up too. You guys can call in and talk about your testimonies, or if you need prayer too, or somebody does. And the thing is, we do it live, so it's like a mass prayer. So everybody watching, we all pray at once, and it works. I'm telling you, I know it works, and when I seen it work, it's just like it surprises you. It doesn't surprise you that because you already know it works, but it builds the attributes in your faith even more. It's amazing how it works. When we prayed for people like Sister Max there, her daughter got healed. Other people too that the prayers worked for her. It's amazing. So let's start using spiritual warfare, and also let's start using spiritual warfare on these people too, these evil people. If we all got together and prayed like tonight, right? That these tyrants that are going after our gun rights, right? And the only purpose of them going after our gun rights is so they could overrule us. That's why, right? If we all got together and pray, come back to God in this country, right? Those people will be powerless. Then if we all got together, stood up as a whole unit to say, you know what? You're going to come after our gun rights, come to us first. Like Wayne LaPierre from the NRA says, from my cold dead hands. In other words, you want to get my gun from my cold dead hands, you got to get it. And you got to and the thing is, you got to look these people in the face and tell them, I'm 76% sure you're not taking crap. And if you do try to take it, we're going to stand against you. I don't care who you are, state, federal, city, government, whoever, and United Nations, it doesn't matter who you are. You come to try to take our Second Amendment, we are going to stand up in force against you cockroaches. Yes, I could easily get killed, no problem. But you know what? Again, I'd rather die on my feet than live on my knees. And that's what they are afraid of. They are afraid of conscious Americans who love God, who fear nobody and nothing but God. That's what they're afraid of. Because we have the courage to stand up against tyranny. And that's what makes them cower. They run and hide in the shadows. And these evil monsters exploit these poor little dead kids. That they're the ones who are responsible for getting killed in the first place. They exploit them to soften your heart, to make, I guess we should give up our guns. When in the whole matter of fact, they're the ones who are breaking the laws. They're the ones who are violating the Constitution. They're the ones who are killing kids, not us. You won't find any of all these mass shootings, right, you will not find one NRA member, not one, that was a mass shooter. Not one. You will not find one that was a law-abiding gun owner. Not one of them. They all have mental health problems, and here's the thing, too. The fact of the reality is the government or a police agency already knew about them ahead of time. They were watching them and all that stuff, and so much for the red flag laws working, huh? Oh, yeah, we're going to report people who shouldn't have guns. They only do that to report people. Just take the guns from them. But the real terrorists out there, they're the ones who support them. In fact, half the time the FBI even gives them the firearms. The FBI, the ATF, the CIA, they're all orchestrating this part of this whole thing. And again, I have to emphasize that, and everybody in these agencies is a part of that. No, I'm talking about the top. The CIA is the one out there orchestrating all these school shootings. They're doing it or letting it happen. That's what's going on. And it's sickening. And we American people need to stand up against them. We need to stand up against tyranny. Doesn't matter. Here's the thing, too. Even if you know they could come kill you, they could. They could come barge into my house and wipe me out. But I don't care, because you know what? If God's with me, they're not going to do that. If God has your protection over you, right, they have no power in the world, no force power in the world to do that. That's the faith of our Father. Look at, the overwhelming odds that the Israelites had against them, right? Nephilim giants that could wipe out an entire... Like, if one of those Nephilim giants came alive today, they could literally wipe out an entire police force by themselves. They put that into your head, right? And so they overcame that kind of odds, right? And the founders in the country, right? The regular people. Granted, not all the founding fathers were Christians. Some were deists, some were into the occult. But the people, okay, they loved God in this country. They knew what they were facing. They beat the world's strongest army, the most powerful army in the world. They stood up against and beat them because they had the faith of God with them. If you go read all their journals, man, it's crazy. Even Thomas Paine. Yes, Thomas Paine was a Freemason, but Thomas Paine he loved God. I have read his books, man. He honors Jesus Christ more than most pastors, though. I got his book, The Rights of Man and Common Sense. You would swear that he's a preacher or something like that. And, when you read these people's memoirs and journals, you're like, wow. And a lot of people don't even know that George Washington talked to angels. Every time he made an executive decision, like as a president or a military decision when he was a general, right? He always went into his tent and consulted in deep meditation and prayer before making any decision. And there was a couple times that he was shot at and nothing happened to him. Literally point blank shot at and nothing happened to him. He had a hole in his jacket from a bullet. The bullet didn't even touch him. So that goes to show you, if God has a plan for you, okay, it doesn't matter what these people could do. They could shoot every nuclear weapon in the world at you. And not one hair on your head is going to be harmed. That's the assurance of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ and our Heavenly Father. If the Holy Spirit's with you, it's not a damn thing anybody could do against you. Not a damn thing. And you need to have that faith. That's what, when Jesus talks about in the scriptures, right? Let me get to my outro here. When Jesus talks about in the scriptures about having faith, and you got to believe. Remember the woman when the parable wasn't a parable, one of the accounts, right? It was a woman, she had leprosy or something like that. She was unclean, and there was a crowd of people around Jesus, and she was like trying to scuffle through people. And she goes, "If I could only touch his tassel on a garment, I'll be made whole again," right? So she did that, and she reached out, grabbed his tassel, and or his garment, whatever, and she was made whole again. So Jesus stopped, and he felt the penitence come out of him. And he's like, "But yeah," he felt it, And then he turned on and said, "Who touched me?" And the woman she was like, "Uh-oh," she thought she did something bad. She goes, "I just wanted to get clean again." He looked at her, right, and he goes, "Well, it's your faith that made you clean. Your faith in me. It wasn't my garment that made you clean. You touched my garment. It was your faith that did that." And if you start to understand this, as I'm doing this Bible studies on my program, right? When you start to understand this and really recognize the faith in Jesus Christ, right? It's the faith. You could, when he says literally, you can literally move a mountain. And I'm not even going to doubt that for a second. If you had the faith of a mustard seed, right? Those people back in this country had faith. They were just regular, like shoemakers and tend to their farms and all that. They had bare minimum weapons, and they defeated the world's strongest army. Now today, and it makes me sick to my freaking stomach, today we're ruled by tyrants in this country, right? Our government, parts of our government, I should say, not all of them, parts of our government, the United Nations, all these people, right, want to kill us all, right? And nobody has the guts or spirit to even stand up against them. Now today, like back in 1774, right? 1774, 1775, going into the revolution, right? We had 3% of the population, 3% that's it, that took up arms and stood against tyranny, right? Now today, we have about 50% of Americans with more firearms than our own government, and here we're taking crap from them. And I'm not saying to go out for war or nothing like that. I'm not saying anything like that. I'm saying we need to stand up and defend our rights and put the fear of God into these people. Doesn't matter who they are, you know. And the good people in government need to stand behind us as well. So, yeah, we become lukewarm. It's right. Oh, man, it's crazy. James Washington. What's up, James? What's up, Valerie? Valerie, thank you for moderating the chat, too. So, yeah, just checking out the comments here. All right, guys, so we'll see you Friday night. It's going to be awesome. So, Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern. So, love you all. God bless. Shalom. And you are the resistance. Declaring war on the New World Order. TruthRadioShow.com.